Hi guys, my name is Natalia and welcome back to my channel. Now that it's December and everyone's like in the winter and Christmas mood, I want to take a moment to reflect on the books I read this fall. So I read a total of 7 books this fall. I guess it's not that many because I know some people read that much in 1 month, but it's okay. I try not to pressure myself too much. Reading is my hobby, but I don't really want to make myself like pressured to read more than others or something like that, because I feel like that would just take away from the enjoyment of reading. So like I'm fine with that. I also categorized these reads into like 3 main categories. The first one is like cozy and inspiring. The second category are mystery thrillers, and the last category are like just fantasy / paranormal books. So yeah, before we get started, as you can see, I did change my background to like a Christmas themed background. Well, actually I don't think you can see it, so let me move a little bit. Yeah, this is what it looks like. So let me know what you think of my new setup, and now let's get into the video. The first category is cozy and inspiring. So the first book I want to talk about is called The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. It is like a cozy fantasy book about a modern day witch named Mika. Technically, she's not really allowed to tell anyone that she's a witch, and like witches are also not really allowed to really communicate with each other. There's this perception that if too many witches are in one place, then like there's just too much magic and bad things happen. So there's like this society of witches, and they have a meeting like every 3 months or so, and that is like the only time where Mika can actually meet other witches and talk about being a witch. So it does make her feel kind of isolated and a bit lonely, and like to overcome those feelings, she actually ends up making online videos about being a witch. Of course, she's like making it in a way that it seems she's playing a character, but she's actually not, because she is actually a witch. But anyway, later her videos are found by someone, and that person invites her to his house to teach 3 young witches magic. So at first she thought it's like a joke or something like that, but it ended up being true, and she ended up staying at the house. There's like a small little family there, and 3 young girls that are also witches, and she has to teach them magic. So that's the story that is presented in this book. This book felt like a really warm hug to me. It was just so cozy and heartwarming, and I loved the found family trope. It is one of my favorite tropes. As someone who really relates to Mika's feelings of isolation and like feeling like you don't belong anywhere, it's like her journey resonated with me on the personal level. Watching her find a community of people who really care for her and really love her was really touching, and it gave me a sense of hope that everyone can find their own people and their community, even if they feel like they are outsiders. I really liked the potion making scene. So apart from doing magic, Mika also makes like these potions, and it was like so calming to just see her gather her ingredients and mixing and making her little potions. It just made me want to really step into her world because of how cozy that was. Now, the reason why I didn't give it 5 stars is due to its cozy nature. It did feel a bit slow at times, but I know that this is like cozy fantasy's charm, but for me it was a little bit like, I wanted something more to happen. I guess I really like action-packed books, so it was definitely a nice change to read something like this that was kind of slower, more cozy, more calm. But yeah, there were a few times when I felt like the story was progressing rather slowly. However, I there was actually kind of like a plot twist near the end, which really shocked me, and it really like added this spark when I needed it. Overall, it's a very magical and uplifting book. So if you are looking for a book like that, then I think I can highly recommend this one. The next book that I want to talk about, this one is more like inspiring, I guess. It's a nonfiction book called Atomic Habits. So I've wanted to read this for a long time because I do struggle with like making good habits. I do have quite a lot of bad habits, so I really wanted this book to save me, and I think it kind of did. Definitely changed the way I think about habits and becoming successful. I ended up giving it 5 stars, honestly, because I think it was a really great read with so much interesting information, and I feel like I will be coming back to this book a lot, so I think it definitely deserves 5 stars. The author's writing is really straightforward and easy to understand, and he really gives a lot of useful advice. He also provides a lot of real life examples and a lot of studies that were done to really prove his point. So he gives like so many really interesting tips that I've never heard of before. I don't know, maybe you did, but I haven't personally. So for example, there's this thing called habit stacking. If you have like an existing habit, like I don't know, maybe you always drink coffee in the morning, you can pair it with a new habit that you want to create. And also, like, it's not really about the like amount of time you spend on this habit. It's just like how consistent you are with it. So like every day you're giving your 1%, but over time it's going to really pile up and really bring amazing results. And also, one of the core ideas that really stood out to me was like the emphasis on systems over goals. So the author actually thinks like we shouldn't be focusing on our goals. Like, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't have goals, but like we shouldn't obsess over our goals, because like once you reach a goal, then like you might feel like I don't need this habit anymore or something like that, or you may feel too much pressure. So instead of like focusing on your goals, on the end result, you should focus on the process of improvement. I mean, he just like mentions so many different really interesting ideas. Obviously I cannot talk about all of them. All I can say is I honestly do think everyone should read this book. I just think this book provides so much useful advice that I think it can really help out anyone. So if you haven't read this one yet, I highly recommend you do, because I think this book really changed my life. Okay, the next category is thriller mysteries. The first book that I want to talk about is called The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. It's a YA thriller mystery. It is the first book in the Naturals series, and I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. I enjoyed it so much. So this book talks about a group of teenagers that are recruited by the FBI because they have some like special abilities. Their task is to profile killers and solve cold cases, but they will actually end up working on an active case in a way, because one of these teenagers is going to be targeted by a serial killer, which, yeah, I know is creepy. I really liked how the author explored the way a killer's mind works. I thought it was really fascinating. The chapters were really short. It was actually a really fast-paced read. I read it so quickly because I was so invested in this story. I think it's an amazing start of this series, and I'm so excited to continue reading it. So there's just like a small like love triangle subplot. Like, I'm not a a huge fan of love triangles, I will admit it. But I'm definitely curious to see how it plays out in the next book. I'm personally Team Dean, so I will be disappointed if Cassie doesn't end up with him, but we'll see, we'll see. If you want something that's kind of like Criminal Minds, but YA, and you like kind of fast-paced thrillers, then you should definitely give this one a chance. Okay, the next mystery thriller I read was The Only One Left by Riley Sager, and oh my god, that one was insane. I also ended up giving it 4.5 stars, but like it's really leaning towards 5 stars, like really cool. Maybe it's like 4.75 or something like that. So this book follows Kit, who is a caregiver, and she's given a job to take care of an elderly woman who is unable to speak. The trick is that this woman allegedly killed her like entire family decades ago. Now it's not really proven, like she was not proven guilty, but like literally everyone thinks she killed her family, so it is definitely quite a creepy environment to work in. And Kit actually does not really want to work there, but she has like some like money issues, and it's really hard for her to find another job, so she actually ends up staying there. So I think this book really kept me at the edge of my seat from start to finish. I also love the atmosphere of this book. So like the mansion where the elderly woman lives is like placed at cliffside, and it's also like really close to just tumbling down. The house is even like tilted a little bit, so I think it really adds to the like really intense and eerie atmosphere. And like the plot is a roller coaster of just so many unexpected events that I could never ever predict. This book had so many like really crazy and shocking plot twists that like my head was spinning by the end of the book. Now, okay, I will admit that some of the plot twists may just not feel that much realistic, but like they definitely do make you shocked, so I have to say that I definitely enjoyed reading this book regardless. And it was like once I thought I really figured everything out, then bam, I was like hit with yet another crazy plot twist, and I was like, what? Honestly, such a crazy journey. And so if you want like a really gripping thriller mystery with crazy unexpected plot twists, then definitely give this one a chance. I had so much fun reading it. Okay, and now let's move on to the last category, which is fantasy and paranormal reads. And the first book that I will talk about is The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. It is kind of related to the Folk of the Air trilogy. I mean, related because it takes place in the same world and we follow some of the same characters. I mean, the protagonists are different. Obviously, we follow Oak and Soren. I ended up giving it 4 stars, but I definitely think out of all the books I talk about in this video, I think I enjoyed this one the least. Like, it just wasn't as memorable to me as the other books. Hi guys, it's me from the future editing. So after comparing The Stolen Heir to the other books that I rated in this video, I actually changed my rating to 3.75 just because I feel like it's not as good as the other books that I gave 4 stars, and also I barely remembered this book at this point. Like, it just didn't leave any impression on me whatsoever, so that's my new rating. It definitely felt a bit slow in pace. Like, there were definitely some moments when I felt kind of bored. Honestly, I do love the Folk of the Air trilogy. It's one of my favorite book series of all time. But yeah, this one I felt like it was good, but it just was not as good as the original trilogy. But I mean, it definitely felt nice to come back to this world of Elfheim, and I really like Holly Black's writing. I think it's really immersive and it just makes me picture everything so vividly. And I definitely enjoyed getting to know Soren better, because I didn't really think much of her in the Folk of the Air trilogy because she didn't appear that much. So I definitely liked seeing her backstory and just being able to get to know her character more. And there were also a few mentions of Jude and Carden, which are the main characters from the original trilogy. So I was like squeaking with excitement whenever that happened, because I love Jude and Carden so much. There's like the next book in this series, so I will definitely read it. Generally, it's an enjoyable series, but it's not like groundbreaking or jaw-dropping, or like it's not really spectacular. It's just like an okay book, and yeah, I will continue reading this series though. Okay, the next book I read is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell, and it was actually a reread for me. I read it like a few years ago, and I decided I want to reread it because I didn't remember it that well. And I remember I definitely gave it 5 stars when I first read it, and after rereading it, I still think it deserves 5 stars, so I gave it 5 stars. Actually, now I'm realizing like I really gave such good ratings to all of these books. It makes me feel like I was maybe too lenient with my ratings. But like I don't think like any of these books I read were like particularly bad, so maybe it's okay. I mean, it just means I had a good reading season. It is a fantasy book about Simon Snow, who is a chosen one, and he attends this like magic school, and he's forced to be roommates with I guess vampire who can also do magic, but his roommate's name is Baz, and they are like sworn enemies. They like hate each other, or at least they're pretending that they hate each other. But yeah, they will actually end up having feelings for each other. No, actually, Baz already has feelings for Simon, but he's like really good at hiding it. And Simon will also realize his feelings later. But I guess it is like enemies to lovers trope. I think it's a very like character-driven story. Like there's a lot of action, and the plot is interesting as well, but I feel like what really carries the story are the characters. They just seem so like real and funny, and they just bring me so much comfort. I really love Simon and Baz's relationship. They are just so cute together. I also like the friendships portrayed in this book. Maybe I don't really like Agatha, I will be honest. Like, I don't know, she just seems bit off, but I do like Simon and Penny's friendship, and then eventually Penny and Baz's friendship. Like this trio is so iconic to me, and I love them so much. Overall, it's just a really cool, really character-driven fantasy that still has like an interesting plot to it. I just find this read so comforting, and I feel like I will probably reread it many more times in my lifetime. That's how much I love this book. So I definitely highly recommend this one. And it is a trilogy, so I have to read the next 2 books. I already got the second one, so I will be starting it very soon, and I'm so excited. The last book I will talk about in this video is called Slewfoot. This one's definitely quite dark. It's like historical horror with witchcraft, folklore. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. Generally, I thought it was definitely really atmospheric. Like, it was so dark and unsettling. The story is set in 1666 Puritan New England, and it follows Abatha, who she's like really struggling. She wasn't really born into the Puritan society. She like was married to a Puritan husband. So she's really struggling with a lot of the like customs and like certain ways a woman should or should not behave. So that's like from the beginning, and it gets even worse when her husband ends up dying and she becomes a widow now, and she's really trying to kind of live alone and just like take care of the farm herself, but it's not easy. She faces a lot of persecution from other people in the community and just a lot of hardships in general. And like at the same time, we also are told the story of like this mysterious creature that awakens. So anyway, Abatha and Slewfoot, which is like what the creature is called, Slewfoot, they will actually form an unlikely alliance, and they will try to challenge the oppressive forces that are surrounding them. I definitely have to say, very strong part of the book is the protagonist Abatha. She's just so strong and powerful and really inspiring, I think. She really goes from this powerless and oppressed widow to someone who like really regains power, and especially being woman at that time in the Puritan society. Yeah, seeing her like being so rebellious and so strong, it just really was so refreshing to see. I do think the pacing was a bit slow at times, but I definitely picked up near the end of the book, and I think I did like the ending. It was really satisfying. I also forgot to mention that it is quite graphic, and it was actually one scene that just like really was so unsettling. It made me sick to my stomach, and for a minute I contemplated giving this book 3 stars because of this one scene. It is quite graphic and quite brutal, so I suggest you check the trigger warnings before you read this book, especially if you are a bit sensitive like me. Also, there are like some really creepy drawings. They are really creepy and unsettling, but I guess it definitely adds to the whole experience. I mean, wow. Like overall, I would say it's a very gripping and atmospheric read with like a very unique blend of horror elements, folklore, witchcraft, and historical fiction. So if that sounds like something you might enjoy, then I think you can definitely give this book a chance, because I definitely enjoyed reading it. It's definitely a stark contrast to the very secret society of irregular witches that I talked about earlier. This one is so dark and unsettling compared to that one, which was so cozy and calming and light-hearted. But like obviously it all depends on the mood you're in. Like if you want something cozy, if you want something more scary and creepy, then obviously there are books for everyone, for whatever mood you're in, so that's great. So I think maybe to sum up this video, I will rank these books from like the best to the worst in my personal opinion. Maybe let's start from the bottom of the list so that's more interesting. I think at the very bottom, I will put The Stolen Heir. Like I said, I think I enjoyed this book the least, which does not mean it's bad. It's just wasn't that memorable to me. Okay, then on the 6th place, I will put Slewfoot, then The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, and then The Naturals, and then the only one left, Atomic Habits, and Carry On. So this is how I would rank them. Generally, like I said, I think all of them were good in their own way. So I think it was a pretty good reading season for me. So let me know what book or books did you enjoy the most out of the ones you read this fall. So yeah, that's it. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.